Hi everyone, in this video we're going to look at how we can combine different arpeggios to make our playing more fluent, interesting and less scaly and predictable. And the other great thing about arpeggios is they can cover a lot of ground across the neck. I've already done some videos explaining the theory behind arpeggios, so check those out. I'll put a link in the description and on the screen. We'll start with some basics today, but then we'll work up to things like this, where I've combined a G7 arpeggio, D minor and a bit of the scale. A quick recap on the theory. An arpeggio is simply a broken chord, so you could arpeggiate a C chord like this. But when soloing, we generally don't like the notes of the arpeggio to ring out, so we tend to play them separately. This kind of thing. That was a C major 7 arpeggio. Every major key and its relative minor key have the following chords available to us. The 1 chord is always major, the 2 and the 3 chords always minor. The 4 is major, the 5 is major, the 6 is minor, and the last one is diminished. When we extend these to 4-note chords, we get a major 7, minor 7, minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, or 7 for short, minor 7, and minor 7 flat 5. The good news is you can play any of these chords as arpeggios, even if the chord progression is playing a different chord at the time, assuming we're not changing key. So, in other words, we could have a chord progression like this, C, F, G, C. We don't have to play C, F, G, C arpeggios. We can play anything from the key of C. So here are the options. We could play C major or C major 7, D minor or D minor 7, E minor or E minor 7, F major or F major 7, G or G7, A minor or A minor 7, B diminished or more commonly B minor 7 flat 5. Let's start with a simple arpeggio. We'll do a major from C. We'll go C, E and G. That's 1, 3, 5. I've done a video all about intervals which helps to explain what's going on here, but this is what a major third looks like, and this is how you construct a major arpeggio. 1, 3 and then 5. And then a minor arpeggio is 1 flat 3, 5. Okay, so that's 1, 3, 5, 1 flat 3, 5. 8, 7, 5, 8, 6, 5. You can play it alternatively like this. This is major, 1, 3, 5, or 1 flat 3, 5. You've also got diminished arpeggios and augmented, but we're only concerned with the common ones today, the major and the minor. We might do the minor 7 flat 5s as well though. So a major 7 arpeggio could be played like this, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, or better still here, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1. Then the minor arpeggio, 1 flat 3, 5, flat 7, 1. And the dominant 7 arpeggio is 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 1. You might want to do a minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. It sounds a bit weird, but it goes like this, 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7, 1. Now, of course, everything changes a little bit as you go through the strings, especially if the B string gets involved. But let's try what these look like on the A string. So here's major, minor, or major, minor, just like it was on the E string. Major 7, exactly like it was on the E string. Minor 7, dominant 7, and minor 7 flat 5. So nothing's changed. It's when we get to the D string things get more complicated. Here is a major 7 arpeggio. Minor 7, dominant 7, and the minor 7 flat 5. And then finally on the top strings we've got major, minor, major 7, minor 7, dominant 7, and minor 7 flat 5. I could go to the root, of course, for all these. I could go, that's major 7, minor 7, dominant 7, minor 7 flat 5. So imagine if you're playing over a backing track in the key of C. You could pick any of the chords we had. So for example, you could play G7. That would be an optional arpeggio to use. You could go like that. But what if you were to play 2 octaves? It sounds okay, but it can become a little bit predictable. So watch what happens if we blend G7 and then maybe a D minor 7 over here. We can go like this. Borrow note of the scale, and some scale notes. Or we could go G7 to A minor 7. Plus some scale notes. Here's another option. We could go D minor 7 to G and then an F at the end. I'll do that again. D minor 7. We could go F major 7 to C. Let's try now mixing 3 arpeggios. So maybe C major 7. When I land on this G here, I could go straight to G7. I could then go to A minor 7. So I could go something like that. Now, if you find this difficult to visualize this and blend the arpeggios, what you can do is you can kind of cheat. You can play one arpeggio, play something familiar to you, like a scale or maybe a pentatonic scale or a little snippet of the pentatonic scale, and then find another arpeggio you're familiar with. So for example, here's C major 7. I could then go into pattern 3 of the pentatonic scale, pattern 4, and then, oh look, I'm on an A. I could play an A minor 7, and then play some more of the scale. Okay, so I've got this kind of thing. In one of my other videos, I mentioned a way of applying arpeggios quite easily. What you do is you take one scale pattern from the cage system. For example, if you're playing over this chord here, you've got this scale pattern. And what you can do with that is you can play little diagonal arpeggios. They're all hiding in there. So you've got, for example, from this note here, I could go diagonally across to the D string and then add this note. That's an A minor 7 arpeggio. I could do the same on this string, D minor 7 arpeggio. I could go G dominant 7 arpeggio, C major 7 arpeggio. So I've got, and this works in all the cage patterns. Let's take another one. Let's take the cage pattern that fits over this. So starting from this note, I could do a diagonal movement. So anyway, where do you start with all this? It seems like a lot to cover. Well, this is what I would suggest you do. Make sure you know your notes of the neck really, really well. Then look at how the intervals are formed. So for example, that's always a major third, unless you're on the B string, in which case it's that. A minor third always looks like that or like that. Okay, a fourth looks like that, a fifth looks like that. And once you get the hang of that, you can then learn the formula for these arpeggios and just play them anywhere. So you could say, if I'm here and I want to play a major arpeggio, I could go 1, 3, 5, because I know what those intervals look like. Then learn the keys and what chords are available to you. So in the key of C, you'll learn that the 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, 3 chord is minor, major, dominant 7, minor, minor 7, flat 5. Once you know all the chords in a key and how they're formed, you can then pick the right arpeggios. And this still might seem like a lot of information, but you'll get there in the end, and it's a lot easier to learn a set of rules and just move those rules around the neck rather than trying to learn every arpeggio for every different key. Now, I've made a little G Mixolydian backing track, which I'll put a link to on the screen and in the description for you to jam along with. Now, G Mixolydian, again, I've done a video all about modes, but don't worry too much. You can just think of it as being in the key of C if you want, and resolving on a note of G. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that was useful to you. If so, please click like and subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.